Hello one and all, and welcome to the All Directions podcast. Now, before we get cracking on with the show, I'm going to quickly get the introductions out of the way. Yeah. I'm Donna1, and my buddy over there is...
Voice from the Alcove. You may have seen my new videos, but probably not.
You may have. It's a growing channel, so go check it out.
A growing channel that hasn't gained any subscribers in years.
Yet.
Wait, no, I take that back. I do have a couple of them, but they don't count the friends.
Has Voice from the Alcove, has that channel been up for years?
Well, I mean, it used to be GamePod, and I think
it did, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think it used to be named something before that, but I've forgotten. No, I take that back. I used to have a separate channel, but I never used it, which was the CRCY Goth.
Right, okay, no, your channel, you had, was it not called, it was Disturb Pod at first, wasn't it?
Alright, Disturb Pod, and then it was GamePod, and now it's Voice from the Alcove.
Right, okay. Well, that's all.
Christ, I went through 3 names. Yeah.
Well...
You can fill out my IMDb page. It's all good. Wikipedia, who cares? Gotta keep my information straight from now on, otherwise they'll fuck me up.
You do, you'll have to keep an eye on it at all times, make sure that everything's accurate. In fact, if anyone puts anything inaccurate up, you'll just have to go in and edit it yourself, you know.
True.
Then, in fact, you know, don't go adding in a bunch of fake stuff just so that when people go searching you up on IMDb, they see that you've got a ton of credits for a ton of made up stuff. I know what you like.
I don't know what I could be credited for on YouTube, because I've only been on... I've only ever done this, and I used to be doing a thing with another friend from high school, but that never took off anywhere. I mean, I've done some tracing work, but it's nothing to do with YouTube.
Was the thing you did with your friend on the GamePod channel, or was that on a completely separate thing?
I was on a completely separate thing. It was called Iridium Gaming. Right. But in all honesty, the audio on it is terrible. Terrible production quality. Didn't like the look of the gameplay. The gameplay was pixely. It was a mess. In all honesty, It was a mess. I know we were using the capture card at the time, but it could have been done much better.
Well, I think before we get started with the main topic of today's show, and we should just warn you all now, some of our original plans for the show have changed, and we're just going to stick with one main topic today, which will be discussing about E3 and what we've seen from the press conferences and what we've seen announced so far. Word of warning, at the time that the plans were made for this, was it Ubisoft and Sony?
Ubisoft, Sony, and Nintendo.
I always forget Nintendo. Hadn't occurred at the time, so we'll not be discussing them in the show today. Before all that, though, I have to say, Chris, we've mentioned it many times before in the past, but they may well just be a curse upon us when it comes to podcast related things. In fact, pretty much anything that we choose to try and record and feature, whether it be on YouTube or on a completely separate website.
Yeah.
How long, roughly, would you estimate that it has taken us to set up today's episode?
Well, we ended talking at 3 o'clock yesterday.
In the morning.
In the morning, and we started at around about what? 12 o'clock?
On yesterday morning, at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, we started.
So that's a good 23 hours. I'm correct.
Not to mention that we also did set up consistently on the Sunday as well.
Yeah, we did. And we've been setting up literally all day today. It's
non-stop.
Now hold on, let me double check. It's now the 14th of June on a Wednesday. Because it's like 2 minutes past 12, you know.
So apparently it's not quite as simple as plopping a microphone on your desk and just hitting record.
Absolutely not.
That's how it was.
Gotta tip your hats off to all those fucking YouTubers who make a fucking video and upload every fucking day.
Oh, I don't know how they do it. You know, they always tell you that it's not as easy as it looks, in that there's so much other stuff that goes around it that you never see. Yep. And you kind of get it to some degree, but you're like, come on, it's not that hard. But then you try and do it yourself.
Yep.
And it's... I mean, the last shows we've done before in the past, we've probably taken us equally about the same amount of time, if not longer. Right. I think we had a podcast in the past that took us about a week just to set up. And we were talking non-stop every day. Yeah. From like morning hours until very late in the night. Oh.
Ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Yeah. But we're here now.
Although I will say that I have similar problems when I'm trying to set up for my live streams. Even though all I literally could do is open up Twitch, get the page open, put whatever I'm going to play or a background on, going to play this, etc. Hit the record button, or rather stream button. I'm not talking about recordings. Recordings is actually a much fucking simpler issue. And then off I go. But no, I have to set things up, make sure people know, make sure the game actually runs if I haven't played it before, see how well it runs, make sure my audio's fine and everything's going through the way it should. Pain in my arse.
It's a funny thing, because we've now had to sort of establish a rule for ourselves when it comes to doing anything, especially podcast related, like with the alt directions and everything, which is we basically, myself and Chris have this habit of whenever we talk, we don't talk for 10 minutes or 20 minutes. It lasts for 5 hours, and that's usually at the least. But now, when we're doing podcast stuff, or at least setting up for podcasts, we have to be deadly silent with each other. Because an experience that we had with a live stream that we tried to do about, it was either a year ago or 2 years ago. It was quite some time ago.
It was a year.
Was it a year ago? I think it was longer.
Yeah.
So,
a year ago.
Basically, we ended up spending, similar to what we've had to do with everything since, we ended up spending 2 or 3 days constantly in attempt to kind of set up for what we're going to do. Yeah. And when it came to the actual day of the live stream itself, we'd spent from the morning hour till the late night prepping for what the actual show was going to be. But in that process, we did our usual shtick of talking non-stop, just constantly going and going and going. And by the time it came to the actual live stream, of which Christopher had posted that we were doing the live stream, and said that we were doing it at a certain time, an hour later another post would come up saying that it's getting delayed. An hour later another post would come up that's saying technical difficulties, might be in 2 hours time now. And we ended up pretty much just giving up on it when we actually got started, because we had nothing left to even talk about. So it's all a big challenge.
It is. I mean, you've got to know your at the point when you're doing a show like a podcast or a live stream, you've got to know where to draw the line, essentially. Otherwise, you've got nothing left when it actually comes to doing something.
Because you don't want to just be trying to ramble on for the sake of talking, just to try and fill some time. And at the same time, you want the conversation to flow naturally. And that's what made it difficult for us, because we'd already said everything that we had to say off air. And so by the time it came to the podcast, it would have basically become a point where we'd have to repeat everything. And it would have basically become a bullet point show, where we'd just be saying points and then agreeing with each other. And it would have been a very boring hour or 2 hours or however long that stream was intended to be.
I mean, thank God that isn't the case today, because we've been, like we've said, constricting ourselves on what to mention. We've compared notes a little bit, but we haven't really discussed anything.
the number of times we've established stuff that we're going to talk about, like for today's show, and then nearly dived into talking about it, and then had to stop ourselves from talking about it just so that we could save it for now, is ridiculous.
It is. It is. But it's good. It's good. It's a good discipline to learn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's going to make for a better show. Which,
it is, hopefully.
Speaking of the show, we have one right now.
Yep, we do.
And, Chris, as I mentioned earlier, there's something going on at this very moment in time. Something we're going to talk about. And I'm guessing you know what that is. We all know what that is. It's in the title.
It's E3.
E3 it is.
E3 is happening now.
Well, yeah, actually, right now it is. I mean, the press conferences are actually done in our timeline. But
hold on, wasn't Sony's conference supposed to be at 2:00, or was that 2:00 yesterday?
That was 2:00 this morning.
Right.
I think we're on UK time, just so you all are aware. So we've got basically, what is it, the EA conference,
that's right,
Microsoft one, which is probably where the bulk of our topics are going to come from, and a couple things on Bethesda later on in the show.
Yeah.
But I think it would be remiss, Christopher, if we didn't begin the show with one of our personal favourite gaming franchises of all time.
Indeed.
That's just had a brand new announcement of their game. Mind you, it did get leaked all over the internet for the last few weeks. And took a gap year last year.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget, people have been speculating on where this game's setting is going to be, and they got it spot on.
I think they got it pretty much spot on. Almost probably 2 years ago, roundabout, not that long after Syndicate had come out.
Yeah.
The estimation was that Egypt was the next setting for the game.
Yeah.
And pretty early on, everyone was we pretty much found out the game was going to be called Assassin's Creed Empire.
Yeah.
Which I believe was probably just that working title for the game, and they just later changed it once they had figured out what their official title was going to be.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't thrilled when I first heard that the game was going to be called Origins, because for some reason Origins just has this cheap sounding feel to it. I always think of it as a sort of like if there's a gaming franchise and then it has one of the games comes out and it's called something Origins, it feels like it's a spin-off game to the actual official franchise. I mean, one thing that jumps to mind for me is the Arkham Origins game, which, don't get us wrong, and I don't think is an awful game. I think it's got its problems,
right?
But it's like that. It's not quite as good as the proper 3 Arkham games. So I sort of had that sort of same mentality when I first heard that Assassin's Creed Empire was actually going to be called Assassin's Creed Origins. I was like, oh, that makes it sound cheap. But I've since come around to it, and it makes sense considering the narrative of the game. Considering that we're apparently not even going to hear the word Assassin or Templar uttered once from beginning to end of the game. Which I don't know.
Didn't you have the speculation that maybe they're all one group at the start?
I think that would be an interesting thing. See, I've heard that, I don't know if this is true, and I don't know if they've said anything about this since the conference, but I heard that the original, they probably wouldn't have, but I heard that the original idea was that, similar to Assassin's Creed 2, they want to do a trilogy for this character. So I don't think you necessarily have to blow your load in the first game, but it could be a situation where this one faction exists, which is all about trying to achieve peace, whether they're doing it all behind the scenes and everything. Maybe at some point they dub themselves the name Assassins or whatever, but at some stage, possibly the ways of achieving peace, maybe their opinions start to differ, and this one faction possibly splits off into two. One staying under the name or becoming the name of the Assassins Brotherhood, and the other one being dubbed the Templars.
Wait, hold on. I just had a thought. I don't think that would be the case, because the Templars originated in England. If they're going by the exact use of Templars that we have historically, the Templars would be based in England first.
Well, I see, that actually occurred to me earlier this morning. That I was like, I don't know that the game will, even if they do a trilogy, I don't know if they'll ever touch on the word Templars, because years and years, years and years and years and years and years before, like the first Assassin's Creed game, and the Templars were really a thing that was fully established during the era of the Crusades.
Yeah.
Now, not necessarily during the first Assassin's Creed, because I think that one's the third Crusades, that one's set in. So the Templars existed well before the first Assassin's Creed game. But it could be the same that's said with the actual Assassins. Maybe you never hear the word Assassin from the first game to the third game of this possible trilogy, because I think in one of the games it mentions somewhere along the lines, I think it's in, number 2, you have to collect the codex, the papers that are written by Altair, and they basically formulate the map to where the Piece of Eden thing is. If you actually read some of them, Altair mentions basically that the Assassins themselves began in Masyaf, but the order of what the Assassins are sort of based off has existed from millennia before the Masyaf temple castle was even built.
Right.
So it would be interesting to see whether or not they do dub themselves assassin at any stage. I know they said it in they used the word in the trailer, but I think that was just to advertise the fact that it was an Assassin's Creed game.
That might be an idea. Maybe it's not. I know the game's called Assassin. Well, actually, no, it wouldn't exist. Maybe the origins of the Assassins from Masyaf are just that. They're Assassins from Masyaf, but maybe their creed was thought of in Egypt. So maybe like they've taken the moral ground as well as the creed from the assassins in Egypt.
Well, I think I actually agree with that. I think that might be what the case is. I think the assassins is what we know the assassins to be. Actually going by the name of assassins and believing in everything that they do believe. That, for the most part, probably started in Masyaf.
Yeah.
But I think the actual creed itself that the assassins guide themselves by, with the 3 tenets of the creed, there's a good chance that began way back in Egypt with this character now that we're playing.
Did we get a name for the character yet?
It's like Bake or something.
Bake?
It's something along those lines, I can't remember. It's one of those things I'll not remember the name until either like 2 weeks before the game's out or until I've started playing. It's like Bayek or something along those lines.
It's not Baka, is it?
Funny. It's not Baka.
Because Baka's Japanese for stupid, and if he was called that, that'd be a real low blow for the character.
Well, I don't even think that Japanese word would exist during this.
Well, I mean, it's that's the thing with languages, You can have a word somewhere, and elsewhere they'll have a word, and the 2 words will be the same and have the same meaning. That actually happens.
But I do have to say, not necessarily disappointed, but I think they could have. I think there's a better way that they could have basically announced the new Assassin's Creed game for the conference.
What, by murdering someone?
Well, maybe if you want to go all method about it, that could be a strategy. I mean, there was one, I believe it was an E3 a few years back when Black Flag was coming out, that built an entire ship outside of the E3 building. So, if you want to go super method about it, like they did with Black Flag, I mean, you could have an actual assassin come in. It could be something interesting. But personally...
Or hold on, I just had a thought. They could also just create an indoor sandstorm, just cover the people in sand.
Could do. But that's, I mean, to be fair, that's assuming that every single location will be completely covered in sand.
True. Mm-hmm. I mean, we did see some greenery and stuff, didn't we?
Did, which is what I'm hoping to see. I'm hoping that the map that we'll be exploring has like a wide range of variety in terms of how it looks visually.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that's going to be a big part in keeping the game interesting. But before we jump on to the actual things that were shown in the game, I do think one of the ways they could have really nailed it and brought it home with revealing this new game. Personally, I think the game should have probably been announced at the Ubisoft press conference, as opposed to Microsoft's, just because it's the home turf. And then you could have had, one of the game developers simply come out to talk about this game that is now hitting its 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Because 10 years ago would be 2007, and 2007 was the release of Assassin's Creed 1.
Yeah.
So you could have had this beautiful announcement of this being the 10-year anniversary, and what better than to bring a new era to the Assassin's Creed franchise.
Yeah.
We bring you Assassin's Creed Origins. That could have been like this really nice announcement. But instead, it wasn't a bad way to introduce the game by any means, the way they did it. It was my sort of anticipated build-up of what I was kind of hoping to see. Some acknowledgement of what had come before. Just since it is the 10-year anniversary of the game. So...
Well, since I had the break, maybe they're trying to distance themselves a little bit because of all the fuck-ups they made eventually.
Yeah, but I think you don't harp on about that. You learn your lesson from that, and you acknowledge what was great. For me, in at least where I'm from, Assassin's Creed 1, when that first came out, it was a smashing success.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking about that game. Yeah. And then number 2 upped the ante after that. And really what I have to say, I'm hoping this game is like does the same for Assassin's Creed that as a franchise is what number 2 did for the franchise. Because number 2 took number 1 and just upped it to like a new level. And revolutionized that game and made it pretty much is one of the reasons why the franchise is as big as it is today.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping since they've started to go a little downhill from that point in time, I'm hoping this game is the one that sort of shoots it back up. Instead of people being like, oh great, another Assassin's Creed.
I don't think we could say that it went down from Assassin's Creed 2 because Brotherhood was... I would say not better, but maybe just as good.
I would put Brotherhood on roughly the same level as number 2, if not slightly below. There are lots of elements of Brotherhood that I like over Assassin's Creed 2, but just in general, when I go back and play Assassin's Creed 2, I just have so much joy when I'm playing that game. And I played Brotherhood more than I've played probably any other Assassin's Creed game. I spent so much time on that one. But I think because I spent so much time on it, I don't enjoy going back to it as much now as I do the other Assassin's Creed games.
Right.
So, but I would say, because think about it, you had number 1, then number 2 shot it up, then Brotherhood, we'll say, pretty much kept it on par. It was a little step, I don't think it was a complete step down, but it was a little step down with Revelations, but still generally a good game. I know this isn't a popular opinion, but for me, I think they took another step up again when Assassin's Creed 3 came out. It's not a popular game, I know, but I love it. I recently replayed it earlier in the year, and honestly, I think that game is absolutely brilliant. It's got its problems. It does have its problems. But it's a fantastic game. I adore it. It's in my top 5 to top 3 of Assassin's Creed games. Then Black Flag, also not a popular opinion, but probably my second least favourite Assassin's Creed game. Just because I think it's a game that's ashamed to be an Assassin's Creed game. It really wants to be a pirate game over being an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
Rogue is a treasure of a game. I adore that game beyond extent. But then Unity came out. And Unity's not a bad game now, I don't think. But back when it was sort of first released, it wasn't sort of on par with what we'd had prior. And I think Syndicate stepped it back up, but still not to the level that we were kind of hoping for. And I'm hoping this is the one that really skyrockets it back to where it needs to be. Or
at least does it better than have been.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the franchise fully die off, but maybe at least keep it on a level. Make some changes here and there, fair enough. Wanna bring back the third person out of Animus stuff, fair enough. Want to keep it a first person? I have no problem with the first person stuff, but don't expect me to put myself in this person's shoes. Give me an actual character to work off.
Which I think is what they're doing. I've heard some of the rumours that we are actually getting an actual modern day protagonist to play as through in this game. I can't remember all the details of it, but I know that he's meant to be a fully trained assassin already.
Right, good.
But I don't know why I don't know why they're putting him back in the anime. So what's some things that... Actually, one thing I do want to point out straight away is from one of the opening shots of... I think it's the first trailer that they showed for it.
Yeah.
Straight away, I was getting elements of the first Assassin's Creed game. There's that shot where he's on the horse, which is on a bit of a cliff. Yeah. And it's looking down into like the city below, and it's an identical camera angle to what you had in Assassin's Creed 1 whenever you entered a new city location.
Are we going to make predictions of people comparing the first game to this game now, and shot for shot?
I don't know that the game's necessarily going to be... I'm seeing a sort of like mashup of multiple Assassin's Creed games brought into one, plus a lot more other games outside of Assassin's Creed. But I got Assassin's Creed 1 vibes. Just because of locations, just where it's sort of set, it's quite similar to the first Assassin's Creed game. You know, the camera angles, just the way it sort of looked. But I also got an Assassin's Creed 2 and more Brotherhood vibe from it, just with having when you're on the horse and you're sort of going around the city with it, which was always a nice thing to do in Brotherhood, and was sad when they removed it from all the other games. And got a bit of a Black Flag vibe to it as well, just because obviously there's a bit of emphasis on doing stuff in the water.
Oh yeah.
Obviously you've got a boat that you can row, and the fact that you can go underwater in the game as well.
Isn't that's a first now, isn't it?
I mean, unless you count the Black Flag stuff, which is where you had the diving bell.
Yeah.
And you could go underwater with that. But I don't think you need that, since you don't have a big ship in this game. I think you just go underwater, which should be really interesting. So yeah, and just the colour from this game is very Black Flag like as well. It's very vibrant.
Yeah.
With its colour, which makes sense considering where it's set in the time period.
I expected there to be more look more dusty, consider how dry the desert is.
I guess, but at the same time, it's like, what are we really comparing it to? Are you comparing Egypt to what you think of Egypt now? In which case you would expect it to be extremely dusty and to have sand flying around everywhere. Or are you thinking of like ancient Egypt times, where actually the city was quite vibrant and it was like fully thriving? It wasn't that sort of barren desert like look that it is today.
Well, the only impression of Egypt I've got is from a modern day.
Yeah.
I haven't played any other Egypt-based games.
Well,
although I suppose you can count Sphinx, but that's set in a similar time period.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, there's not really that many, to be honest with you, games set really in that time period, or even in Egypt to begin with. I mean, there's a few, I'm not saying there's not any, but there's not many. So any big things stand out?
Yeah, you mentioned the horses. Here's the thing. In any of the Assassin's Creed games with the horses, I never usually bothered. Because, you can correct me if I'm wrong, fast traveling has been a thing in all of the games.
No, it has not.
No? Alright, so I've got that wrong. But really, honestly, apart from Assassin's Creed 2 and... it was Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, and then they dropped it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, we had it in 3 as well.
You could ride a horse in 3, but you couldn't take it into the city. You couldn't, like, go into New York and Boston with the horse.
Right. But regardless, I never really bothered with the horses, so I hope that the horses in this game give more functionality rather than just being a vehicle with lungs and stuff.
Well, okay. In Assassin's Creed 1, you didn't have much of a choice but to use the horse, because you needed to use the horse in order to get to the other locations. You couldn't just be in Masyaf and fast travel to the other cities. You had to actually ride the horse to the to that arch point, and then you could fast travel to either of the 3 cities, or you could go to the Kingdom section, which was a huge map, but I'm pretty sure no one ever went to. The only time you ever used the Kingdom map in the first Assassin's Creed game was when it forced you to, which was like during the first 2 chapters of that game.
Right.
Assassin's Creed 2, no, you don't really tend to use the horses too much, because there is a shop you can go to basically fast travel.
Yeah.
I can't believe for a second you never used the horses in Brotherhood.
I did use the horses, but it was mainly to mess around with. You know, if I had the choice of being on a horse or just running somewhere, I would just run somewhere.
No, but that Brotherhood map, man, it was a big map.
I know.
Especially back when it came out. I couldn't imagine trying to run from one corner of that map to the other corner.
I believe I've done that at one point.
There's probably many people that have actually done that. I'm just a lazy bastard. I like to get there quick.
I think in every open world game, I will eventually go from one corner of the map to the other. Just not even for shits and giggles, just like to get a sense of how big the map actually is.
Okay, so this is my challenge to you, right? When Assassin's Creed Origins does come out, and you have the ability to play Assassin's Creed Origins, you record running from one corner of that map, the entire map, from one corner of it to the opposite corner.
Okay. Alright.
Yeah?
Oh, and if people suggest me doing it in Minecraft, technically I have, because I've done on the PS3 version. So I don't need to do that again.
So that counts. There is one thing I'm really hoping they explain in this Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
That one of the arrows that he fires, apparently, you can control it.
Yeah.
And the direction where it goes, you can control if it goes up or down or left or right. While it's in midair. So not like aiming it in the bow, but you can control it in midair.
Yeah.
I want them to explain that, because I'm kind of like, how? How is he able to control this arrow?
Here's the thing.
Don't give me bullshit of, it's just a game, Daniel. No.
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, and it's one of the topics we were going to talk about, but we have to drop it for time purposes, is if it's fun, put it in the game. And if it fits, put it in the game.
No. Wrong.
Hold on. If it's just a case where it's a game function and say you needed to shoot someone with your arrow to finish a mission, well, in canon you actually didn't control the arrow. It's just it makes it easier for the player, and it's a goof to mess off with. It's a goof to mess with.
I think I'd need to see how actually controllable that arrow is. If it's very subtle, like moving up and down and stuff, then I might sort of accept that it was like it was actually just a curved shot, you know? Something along those lines. But if it's actually the case where you can fire the arrow and then you can make it do a 180 degrees and loop-de-loop in the air and all that kind of stuff, then I'm not accepting that. And I want it explained.
Wait, would you accept it if you could fire an arrow, do a few loops, and then kill yourself?
I'd give it a shot. I'd certainly give it a try.
Yeah.
But, would I accept... No, I think I'd still want it explained. Because then Especially if you want to make that big canon, I'd be like, well, how are you viewing this guy's memories if he killed himself?
Yeah.
With his own gun. And actually, I talked to someone earlier, probably yesterday, about this actually, and they said, so wait, let me get this right. You have a problem with the fact that there's an arrow in the game that you can fire and control, but you have no problem with the fact that there's a giant-ass snake in the game. To which my response to that was pure and simple, that the snake gets a pass purely on the fact that I think we all know you're going to find that thing in one of the tombs that you go exploring. Right? And since it can pretty much be almost anything, we literally have no idea what exists in half of these pyramids and tombs from those times. Anything could be down there. If it was the case that these giant-ass snakes were out in the open and there were dozens of them everywhere you went, then I'd probably have something to say about it, because then I'd probably say these should probably be in the history books a bit. Right. But the fact that it's in a tomb means it gets a pass. The arrow still needs explaining. Unless it is so subtle that you could sort of just say, well, it was a curved shot and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Although, I might have an explanation for that.
Go on.
Because there's the ones that came before, right? Maybe that was something else that they created.
See, as I was thinking, but I don't believe for a second throughout the entire game you're carrying a bow of Eden. And two, considering that this character is so customizable in the fact that you pick up different bows throughout the game, that have different abilities and so on and so forth, that proves right then and there that it's not a piece of Eden, because you'll have different bows throughout the game. So
would it matter if it's a piece of Eden?
The point is, it couldn't be, because you would never have that same bow.
They created humanity. The ones that came before created humanity.
Right, that's not really... I don't get the relevance.
So what I'm saying is, why wouldn't they have had the ability to create another creature like a giant snake? Right,
you're talking about the snake, I'm talking about the bow. But, so we're talking about two completely different things.
Oh, right.
Well, there's no reason, but to be honest, I think, I was about to say, unless it was like a griffin or something, you could probably get away with anything being down there, but right. I'll end up saying that, and then I'll play the game, and there'll be a fucking griffin in one of them. So, to quickly run through some of the other things, I think I'm going to love this whole eagle thing in this game. Yeah. It's going to be fantastic for scouting out your areas. I was playing an Assassin's Creed game earlier and trying to find one of the windows that would allow me to get into the building. And I was like, fuck, if I could control an eagle right now, this would be so much easier. So, looking forward to that. And that has always been my dream with Assassin's Creed. Ever since I've played the first Assassin's Creed game and didn't quite get the concept of what Assassin's Creed was actually all about. Yeah. I always thought, I remember finishing the game, I was like, oh, I hope you get that Apple of Eden, and I hope it lets you turn into an eagle and you can fly around the game. And I remember being super happy when Assassin's Creed had like a section that let you play as an eagle, despite the fact that that section can be quite tormenting at times. Yeah. But no, it's nice to see that something I've always wanted to see in an Assassin's Creed game is now going to be there.
Wait, couldn't you technically couldn't you turn into an eagle in Assassin's Creed 3? With like one,
there's a mission where you can turn into an eagle.
I'm saying, isn't there like a power? Oh god, I hate saying that word because it's Assassin's Creed, and I know it's not actually what's canon. But regardless, couldn't you get like a power up where you could jump higher and like you turn into an eagle for like a couple of seconds?
Oh, you're thinking of the non-canon DLC that was released. Yeah. King Washington or something along those lines. Yeah, you got an ability to like summon wolves, you had like a bear stomp ability, and you could sort of jump high and turn into an eagle for a cousin. It was a fun piece of DLC. Before we move on, I guess, to the next thing, is there anything else that stood out?
Yes. We haven't mentioned the Matrix like slowdown.
Oh, actually, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Go on, I'll let you lead with that.
Okay, so imagine it, people. You're in Egypt. You're an assassin. You jump off a building, going to take down a guard, using your bow and arrow, and all of a sudden the time slows as you're pulling on the drawstring, and you fire, and the arrow goes flying into your opponent at a relatively slow speed in comparison to what a bow should fire at. That's in this game.
It is, and I have to say, I'm chuffed about it.
Yeah.
Because I remember back when they first showed off the fact that you had a bow and arrow in Assassin's Creed 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a super exciting thing because bow and arrows were big at the time. They were all in. And then you played the game, and the bow and arrow had to be locked onto things. You couldn't just use it willy-nilly like whenever you fancied.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lock system, which they ended up changing in Black Flag, but you didn't have a bow and arrow in Black Flag. Black Flag was the first one where you had the sort of free ability to aim wherever you wanted. And this one has the bow and arrow style that everyone wanted in Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah.
So I am chuffed that we're getting another turn at the bow and arrow, because it was underutilized in number 3.
What else is there? You can kill multiple enemies at larger distances rather quickly.
Yeah, there's some... they've upped their stealth and killing variety, if you will.
Okay.
There's the shot of... which proves that leak wrong about not being able to one-shot enemies anymore.
Yeah.
But I remember going, wow, when you saw the one of them, he jumps down, stabs the guy in the neck, and that guy flops, and he straight away throws a knife in the other guy, and then straight away you're into stealth, going around the corners.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like there's going to be quite a lot of variety. And I reckon when it comes to the fighting, it's probably going to have, I would estimate, the difficulty of Unity's fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be a lot more fluid, because Unity's is... it's not bad, but it's a little clunky and a little repetitive. But it's difficult, not like Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood, where you can take on thousands of people at once and you know you're going to win. If you had that kind of number taking you out, going after you in Unity, you're pretty much dead. So I think it's going to be like that in this game. But I think the fighting's going to be much improved. And one thing you got to remember, because I've seen some comments and stuff with people saying that the fighting animations and climbing animations and all that don't look great. You got to remember this game's still in alpha right now, and they've still got like 4 months or something to work on it. So it's not they're not showing off the finished product.
People are saying that the climbing looks bad.
Yes, well, some people said because there's a couple of scenes where you watch him like jump up in the climbing, and it's like he sort of skips a section and just like sort of almost like flies up for a section to grab onto stuff, and it's just the fact that the animations aren't all done.
Yo, they just wanted to show you the game, people. Stop complaining.
I know.
Honestly, if people have 2 legs, they'll complain about not having a third.
And if they get the third, they'll complain that it looks whack.
Is there anything else? You level up. You level up now.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's gonna be... I don't have a problem with it. It's gonna be kind of weird for an Assassin's Creed game.
I mean, I suppose it kind of like fits the game. I mean, I know it was more like action stealth. Well, actually, no, it wasn't even really stealth based. I mean, you could call Assassin's Creed at least before this game until we play it and find out how the mechanics actually work.
Yeah.
Like semi-stealth, maybe with Black Flag having better stealth mechanics.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed isn't really a stealth game. It's just an action game.
I don't agree with that. I think it's a game that's crying out to be a stealth game.
Yeah.
And just never was. Every single Assassin's Creed game's had stealth mechanics in it. The first one, you've got the blend option.
Yep.
Number 2 introduces slightly more abilities in terms of how you hide within crowds and stuff. So they've always had stealth stuff. It's just the one thing they never had was stuff like the ability to crouch, which is such a simple stealth mechanic. And they finally introduced that in Unity, and it's very useful. Unity's got decent stealth. I would say Syndicate's probably got better, and I think this one's going to have even better stealth altogether, because it looks like it's incorporating the stealth that they introduced in Unity, but they're mixing it up with what they also had in the previous games, like there's still the tall grass and everything. But tall grass doesn't just make you invisible like it does in Black Flag. It's just more natural, like you're hiding in tall grass, so it's more difficult to see.
Oh, we haven't mentioned that we have a shield for the very first time in an Assassin's Creed game.
Well, I don't know that there's how much you can mention about it. Shield's a good defense tool. Indeed. Yeah, very much so.
Quite.
Quite so.
I mean, I suppose it stops anybody from just like blocking with their weapon. Maybe I don't know if I actually want this to be the case, but maybe your weapons get like worn down after a while. You have to go take it to a grindstone or something. That'd be cool.
It would be interesting. I don't know that they do that.
I think they should. It would make the shield have more of a purpose, just using your shield instead of your weapon to block.
Well, I think the whole idea of the shield is that's what you use to block, since if you don't, then your head's going to get clobbered.
No, yeah, I'm just comparing to previous Assassin's Creed games.
But, actually, that could be something interesting. It could also be something that would get very annoying when you're later into the game and you're in the middle of a mission and then your sword or your spear or whatever just breaks.
Well, I'm sure there'll be blacksmiths so you could increase the longevity of your weapon.
Yeah, but if you just spent like half an hour being all stealthy and you're in the middle of this mission, and then something occurs and you have to do something quick, and then your weapon breaks, and you've got to sort of be like, right, I've gotten this far in this area, it's taken us half an hour to get this far, but now I have to walk back out of this area just to go to a blacksmith to fix my weapon, and then come all the way back to this area that I'm in the middle of a mission for right now.
Well, no, you wouldn't really have to, because all they'd need to implement is a grindstone that you can just carry around. It won't be as good as if you take it to like a grinding wheel, but like you could just sharpen it up real quickly. Keep going.
You never know. Assassin's Creed has had a crafting mechanic before, so it could just be a thing where you can make like a crafting thing. Whether it's like a bit of string that you wrap around your weapon just so it's temporarily fixed.
Wait, what?
Until you take it to someone. Like if you had a spear and the spear snapped in half, and then you take something like a piece of rope or whatever just to wrap the two pieces back around, so that they were attached together and you could still use it until you went to get it repaired properly.
Maybe if they changed the mechanics so that it's more like if they did something like that. We're not hoping that we get string and then just wrap it around.
No, I mean that.
Maybe if they make it more like a fencing weapon kind of deal, that would make sense. Yeah, I could get behind that. Just make sure that you've got string items.
I think it might be best that we move on to some of the next stuff, Chris. We've been on about Assassin's Creed for like an hour.
It's a good game. We've got
many more things to go through.
I mean, it's a good franchise. I don't know if it's a good game. Should I get the next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the dawn before anime was really popular, there was one that rose above the ranks in the Western world, and that was Dragon Ball Z. Now, do not panic. This isn't the next Xenoverse. Although, I'm kind of glad that it's not the next Xenoverse. I probably won't play this game in particular just because of what it is. But, it looks good. It looks good. It's called Dragon Ball FighterZ. And, let me tell you. If Toei would have the stylings and the 3D that they have in this game, I would quite happily just allow them to do it. So it looks beautiful. It looks amazing.
The first thing I noticed when I was watching the gameplay stuff in the trailer for it is it's obviously they've got the 3D characters, but a lot of the power stuff that they're using, like when they're charging and they're actually using like their key abilities, I think the majority of that's all hand-drawn stuff. Yeah. It's all 2D stuff and it works so well.
No, it's not 2D. They're definitely 3D models.
The characters are 3D. The powers are 2D.
Right.
If you watch them like that auras and when they're blasting off, all the effects and everything are hand-drawn.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
But the character models are actually 3D.
Right.
I'm pretty confident of it. I've watched it a few times and it's definitely because I noticed it straight away and it works so beautifully. Although, that being said, I don't know that the entire game features all the models being 3D, because there is one section in the trailer that they showed off. There was one level that was a fighting scene, and it looked very much like old school style fighter, especially Dragon Ball Z fighter. It looked like the characters were 2D. Now that could just be the style that it was, but in this one particular scene, like every other scene they showed of the fighting from like other areas, all the characters like looked clearly 3D. But in this one section that I did see, they looked like they were the 2D drawn characters. So I don't know if it's gonna have both.
I think that's just the animation style they're going for, because I've seen it before with other sprite-based 2D fighters where, you know, you punch a character and the character will stutter, and so will yours for like a few milliseconds, and then, you know, it's not a smooth fighting experience. It's in all honesty, personally, it looks really janky to me.
I don't know. I actually think that might be something that they've done. But it looked really smooth as well, and I think it could be interesting. Don't know that I'll necessarily get it, but I have to say, as much as Xenoverse, I enjoyed it. Right, I enjoyed Xenoverse. I didn't love it, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was a good try, but I'm glad that going back to a game that's sort of focusing more on the fighting and emphasizing on it, rather than Xenoverse was nice, but it's nice to sort of now go back to more roots and what the game's meant to actually be all about.
I think you've been looking for a long time for another Budokai-esque Dragon Ball Z fighter.
I have. I just, to be honest with you, I hate that. The one thing I hate is the current way that you choose your power-ups and everything. Is like, you don't have that ability to just go, like, if you're playing as a Saiyan, you can't just go Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, and then 4, whatever.
Hang on. Sorry to burst your bubble there, Dan, but you can in Xenoverse 2.
Right. So you can charge up and go through all of them.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, you can.
Oh, it's funny, because I checked out Xenoverse 2 a little while back. Never played it, just checked it out briefly.
Yeah.
And I didn't pick up on that. I didn't see that that was a possibility. But if they go back to them kind of routes, then that's more fun. You know, go back to the proper transformation the way they had it back in Budokai.
Yeah.
Because they nailed it in Budokai, and honestly, I still think Budokai is probably my favourite of the Dragon Ball Z games. Budokai 3.
Yeah. Right, I think that's it for Dragon Ball Z Fighter Z. What? Dragon Ball Z Fighter Z. God, that's going to be annoying.
You want to jump into talking about this Minecraft thing?
Sure.
That was mentioned. I'll let you start with your point that you had to make.
Okay. I think a lot of people have been looking for, like, Minecraft 2 and stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not Minecraft 2. It's literally not. It's Minecraft in 4K. It is. They've got some more features in there, but I'll talk mainly about the visual stuff. It looks nice. It does. I will admit it looks nice. The 4K stuff looks good. Do I think that it's an improvement over regular Minecraft and like stock textures? Yeah, of course. Do I think that it's better than the people who have created like mods and stuff and made Minecraft look absolutely excellent in the best of people's computers' abilities? No. In all honesty, I think it looks pretty much the same. There are plenty of videos on YouTube with Minecraft with edited textures that look just as good, if not better. Fair enough, Microsoft need to milk Minecraft, because you can buy Minecraft and that's it. You've got the whole game. You've got everything. But from just a visual perspective, I don't see the point yet, unless you're using console. I don't see the point yet of moving over to Minecraft 4K.
Just to clarify with everyone, during the conference, there was no point in which Microsoft even attempts to fool you into thinking this is meant to be Minecraft 2. It is simply a big push for the fact that Minecraft's going 4K, and mostly for the reason because of their new Xbox console being supporting 4K.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the thing. And one thing they did say to everyone was that if you owned Minecraft already, the 4K upgrade would be free.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Along with several other games. So it's not something you have to pay for. But honestly, I kind of also don't see the point. Because, let's be honest, Minecraft is a game where unless you've got a super high resolution texture on, it's a pixel game. And so, seeing it in 4K doesn't really make it look any different than playing it in regular 1080. So I kind of didn't really get the point. I saw, they were trying to show off some of, how beautiful it's gonna look, and it looked no different to if you watch people on the computer playing Minecraft and they've got a shader pack on. It literally just adds a bit more dynamic light and some shadows, which granted makes Minecraft look gorgeous when you've got the right shader pack on, and similar to what they did for this. But it wasn't like anything new that I'd seen or that I thought Minecraft was desperate for, especially not for the console version. However, all that being said, they did announce some pretty awesome stuff for Minecraft in that conference.
Hold on. Just so I make sure I got my points that I said previously straight, does that mean that the new stuff that's coming to console is for regular Minecraft and the 4K version, or is it just for the 4K version?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I didn't really, because they didn't really differentiate the two. They announced the two things in the same video.
I think Minecraft in general is getting all of these things that they've announced. They just simply mentioned, say for example, if you went out, say you had an Xbox One, right? And then let's say you go out and get the new Xbox that they're releasing. Now, if you already own Minecraft, they're basically just saying you can basically get the 4K version of the game. You get the 4K patch, if you will, for free. Right. You don't have to pay for it. Like some games will come out in the future where you will have to pay to upgrade your game to 4K. It's just no doubt. Some game developers will do that.
Or you just have to buy the whole entire game again.
Or that, yeah. But they announced 5 or 6 games that were getting free 4K upgrades. But Minecraft in general is getting all this stuff that they've announced.
Right.
So some of the things that they announced. One thing I have to mention that I think Minecraft is just being desperate for, and I can't believe it's staying this long. Minecraft's going to get its VR. We're going to get VR Minecraft. As in, the proper Minecraft is going to support VR, and I'm thinking it's about bloody time. I think they mentioned it very briefly last year's E3, but they actually brought it a bit. They didn't show it off or anything, but they brought it a bit more to the forefront this time. So it's nice that Minecraft's getting a VR, because I always thought that it would be fun to play Minecraft like that.
You can actually play Minecraft on PC right now with VR.
I've never tried it, but at the time I was thinking more for consoles, because I've got the VR headset for the PlayStation. I was thinking I would like to be able to play the console version with VR, because it might entice us to actually play the console version again.
Yeah.
But
did they also announce that Minecraft was going to be cross-platform? Literally cross-platform?
Minecraft is going to be cross-platform.
Right. Did they mention that that's also going to be the case with PC? Because generally, I think there's one game on the PlayStation 3 where you had PC players and... No, wait, hold on. There's two, because there's DCUO, where you can play with PC players on PS4 and PS3. And there's also... there was something else. I don't remember. I think it was like a shootout game. It was a first-person shooting game. I don't remember the name of it. And that was also PlayStation 3 and PC.
I'm going to simply answer your question by repeating my previous statement. Minecraft is going to be cross-platform.
Oh, okay.
And just to put a bit more emphasis on it, when they first said it, right, they said Xbox and PC. But then they said it will be cross-platform between mobile, tablets, PC, and consoles. So that means that includes the PlayStation as well.
I think it's reaching a point where they're going to have to stop making updates for last gen consoles, because eventually they're not going to be able to keep up with all this.
To be fair, I mean, the updates for the last gen consoles are probably they will stop within probably the next year or two.
Yeah.
Some will still have the updates going for them, but for the majority of things, I mean, there's already games that have stopped updating for last gens.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. What they're going to do with the world size? Because on PC it's nigh on infinite, and on PS4 and Xbox One it's bigger than it was the previous gen, but it's still smaller than what it is on PC.
Well, that goes in, then once again, they didn't go into it in huge detail, but that goes back to the fact that they've announced that they're doing giant servers.
Right.
So, question is it the case where they've cleverly worded it so that it sounds as if on any Minecraft server that you create, whether it be on PC or console, anyone from any platform can join it? Or is it a case where it's these giant servers that are cross-platform? And so if you want to play with a friend that's got Minecraft on PC, and your friend's got it on like the PlayStation or Xbox, do you have to go into one of these giant servers in order to play together?
Yeah.
Because then that's not as good news as it would be if it was just in general. But then you'd also then have the question of, well, you know, what if you want to join your friend's modded server? And pretty much all of the mods that he's got on this PC server do not exist.
Yeah.
For the console. So it was one of the questions. But the best thing, in my opinion, that they announced that they're doing for Minecraft Console Edition is something that I actually said to you no less than a week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That Minecraft needs and is getting custom skins.
Good.
You can make your own skins.
Good.
In the console version.
Good. Well, say goodbye to paid skins. You ain't going to make your money no more. Although
kind of curious how...
I do suspect, however, that you're going to have to pay like a one-time fee to like use like a custom skin creator or something like that in game.
Either that, or it'll be a case where every time you want to change your custom skin, you've got to pay.
Yeah.
The price.
Or even they might, by custom skin, they might actually mean you can like pick and choose from like skins that have already been made that they've released.
That would not be going to the definition of custom. Because I guess then that would just be what they're already doing.
But technically it would be a customizable skin, and how they'll get you is they'll sell the legs, the arms, and the head and the body separately.
Right. See, I think that wouldn't have fall under more customizable skin as opposed to custom.
Yeah.
Slight difference, not much, but
yeah.
quite a bit.
Oh, you can imagine all the players were getting like the smallest body with like the largest legs, the largest arms, and very, very tiny head.
Well, I think what if maybe it'll be so customizable that they'll go all Two-Face with it, and half of the Minecraft body will use the skinny frame, and the other half of the Minecraft body will use the classic. It'll be very disjointed.
Oh yeah. And then it's a question: which leg do you actually want to stand on? Do you want the larger leg to like sweep through the ground, or do you want the small leg just to be flapping in the air?
Oh, you'll actually like see in the walk animation. You actually see that you hobble as you walk, because you're almost having to do like a bit of a hop, but you sort of go on your more stumpy leg at the same time. So even when you're in first person mode, you can see the hobbling. Mm-hmm. It's a slight hindrance to your regular movement speed, but it's worth it just for the kicks.
You get a slightly higher jump.
Well, if you've got a strong, long leg.
Yeah.
But you might be screwed if your stronger leg's the short one. But that's rarely going to touch the ground.
Alright. Alright. Is that it? Is that all we've got to say about Minecraft?
That's pretty much that for the Minecraft one.
Yeah. Yeah, Battlefront 2 on the agenda.
Yeah. I want to sort of start off by just saying, I think 2 years ago, EA released the first Battlefront game. Yeah. Their first Battlefront game. And I refused to get it, because the game was scandalous. Mm-hmm. Basically for the reason that you'd go into the shop, so you'd go on the store, and you'd pay full price for the game. Yeah. But what you were actually getting was 50% of the game. Mm-hmm. And if you wanted the other 50%, you had to get their like day one DLC, which also came to the exact same price of the full game.
Right.
Which meant in order to play 100% of the game, you had to spend over £100. So I thought that was absolutely scandalous. Yeah. And I never bothered picking the game up. I've actually never played that Battlefront game. I've watched it, but I've not played it because I refused to. And on top of that, considering the fact that the game was very limited, it didn't have much variety to it. It was very repetitive. Now, don't get us wrong, technically speaking, the previous original Battlefront games were relatively repetitive, you know, like any online multiplayer match style games are. You know, you go into each match, and depending what the match type is, you do the same thing every time you go into each match. But the game had variety to it. You could do maps on planets. There was a planet where you could just play as the hero and villains. You could do space battles. My favourite one was probably like the galactic map that you do. And you'd basically, in half of the missions, you'd start off in one like spaceport, and you'd have to jump in your ship, fly to the other spaceport, try and take it down from the inside and take it down from the outside, in order to basically conquer that sort of section of the galaxy map. And yeah, you pretty much did the same thing every single time, but it was enjoyable. And if you got bored of that, then you could go into doing a different type of match or a different type of play style, which this Battlefront game never had. And it sucked so much, because whenever I thought of Battlefront like 3 years ago, if you said Battlefront to us, I was like, fantastic, amazing game. Like from 2 years ago onwards though, if I heard the word Battlefront, I just sighed. I was like, ugh, that thing. Now, after having seen this though, I might actually have some slight restored confidence in EA. In the fact that they've actually listened to people. Because I'm chuffed that they're actually not afraid to go into the different eras of Star Wars. Whereas the previous one was purely set in the original trilogy time period, with the exception of DLC stuff that was released, which included some maps from the latest film that came out. whichever one it was at the time, being both either Force Awakens or Rogue One.
Force Awakens.
Because they did it for both, is what I'm stating.
Oh, I'm saying the first one was the
first one
DLC release.
Was Force Awakens, but then a year later they released a map that was Rogue One related.
Right.
And that's the only stuff not from the original trilogy era that they did, because Lucasfilm were afraid to touch anything prequel era at the time, just because of the fact that we're just sort of starting up with trying to revive Star Wars. But now they're sort of going all out with it. The one thing I would have liked to have seen in that gameplay footage that they showed off at the conference
Wait, hold on. No, you're going to say something totally different. Go ahead.
I have an estimate. Go on.
No. It's definitely different.
I would have liked to have seen everyone's favourite droid.
Okay, it might not be different.
So go on.
Would it in fact be the Droideka?
I would have loved to have seen the Droideka.
I did put droids are playable, mention Droideka in my notes.
Because one of the best things about Battlefront 2, the original, was you'd play as the droids for a while, and you'd build up enough, and then eventually in the match you would unlock the Droideka. And once you unlocked the Droideka, you were dominating in that match. You just fucking overpowered us out, for lack of a better word. I was sad that... Well, yeah, but I just said fuck, so I didn't really want to repeat it. Now we've just said it like 3 times in the last minute.
Well, fuck.
Oh, shit.
You all can keep account of the fucks and shits in the comments. We ain't doing that.
Yeah. Do it like Strike by 5. I think for showing off like all the droids and stuff, it would have been nice just to sort of show that off as well. Because the graphics for the game are stunning. That's the one thing they've nailed, which doesn't make a good game, but it makes a beautiful game. It would just be nice to sort of see them rolling around, popping their shields up, having a nice little animation of them popping their guns out, and just killing some fucking clones.
Well, I was going to say maybe they're restricted to a particular map, but during the Battle of Naboo, when I forgot that the Gungans, right?
Yeah.
When they were fighting the droids, there was no droidekas there, were there? Or was there?
Not in the section where the actual Gungans were fighting, but in the section where like Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Anakin were in like the castle area. Was it a castle? I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched it.
It's like a palace.
Yeah, like a palace. When they were in that section, I do believe there was 2 droidekas that showed up.
Yeah.
In that area.
Yeah.
So it would have still been reasonable to show off, because I know there are at least in the original Battlefront 2, certain maps would restrict you to who you could be, who you could play as. But I don't think this one's doing that, because in the original Battlefront 2, it would depend on the era you were playing in and the map you were playing in as to what heroes and villains you could be.
Right.
So, like, for example, if you're on the dark side playing as the Imperials or whatever, certain maps you could play as Palpatine. Certain maps, like you'd have Palpatine, Boba Fett, and someone else, right? And it not Darth Vader, it would be someone else I can't remember. But in another map, Darth Vader and Palpatine would be an option in a third person. In another map, Palpatine wouldn't be an option whatsoever. It would be who's relevant, sort of, to that sort of map. In era that you're playing in. So you couldn't have Darth Vader and Maul running around together. At least I'm pretty sure you couldn't. Unless you're on the hero and villains map, the planet, then I think you could. It was all out. You could be whoever you wanted, provided they were in the game. Obviously, you couldn't just be anyone you wanted. I don't think Jar Jar Binks was an option, for example. But in this one, they clearly show in the gameplay footage, they've got Maul running around, but they also have Han Solo running around. They also have Boba Fett running around. So I don't think they're restricting you so much as to what map you're on to which characters you can be.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a free-for-all that you just have to build up towards throughout playing the match.
Yeah.
And I also have to say that I'm happy that they're doing the one thing everyone wanted them to do, which is doing a bloody storyline.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
It's nice that they're going to do a full game campaign, and it's canon with the Star Wars movies as well. It was nice.
Have they said when where it's going to be set?
Mm-hmm.
Or when?
It's set after Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure the trailer that the cinematic trailer that they did for the storyline, I think they released it some time back.
I haven't seen that yet.
Well, you're basically playing is this Imperial woman who's high up in the ranks, and she witnesses the second Death Star blow up.
Right.
Which was what happens at the end of Return of the Jedi. And so basically, I think you're supposed to follow this storyline as it leads through how sort of what happened to the Empire after that moment, how it sort of fell apart, which I think takes you to, I was going to say the Battle on Scarif, but that's not right. It's the Battle of Jakku is where it should take you to next, unless the character that we're playing as goes somewhere else. But it's sort of meant to be a thing to sort of bridge some of the gap between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But one of the nice things they did was, before they showed off any of the gameplay and the trailer and everything, they had a tweet from John Boyega pop up, who's the guy that plays Finn in Force Awakens, and he said something along the way, I'm paraphrasing, but Battlefront, great game, but will the sequel have a storyline? And then other tweets and comments started popping up behind it, to a point where there was thousands of tweets and comments behind it, and it showed how many likes and follows he'd gotten, or retweets, he'd gotten on his one tweet. And then suddenly on the stage, troopers are starting to walk out, and the actress that plays the main character in the game walks out in her Imperial uniform, and she's describing the Battlefront game and what features it's going to have and where it's set and sort of elements of the story. And it was quite well done. They kind of went a bit all out with that Battlefront, which of course they would, because that was their main selling point.
Ubisoft, take fucking notes.
Yeah. I'm kind of predicting that they're going to have the same woman do the Ubisoft press conference that they've done.
Oh, okay.
Every year. I don't know that for a fact. Like I said, I've not seen the Ubisoft press conference. I'm just guessing that they're going to have the same chick they've got for it every year.
Yeah.
She's alright.
Yeah.
I don't think she does a great job with it, but she doesn't do a bad job.
That's all you can hope for, really.
Really, yeah. But it would be nice to see someone else sort of host the conference, because it could give you a different sort of pace, It'd give you something different instead of just feeling a bit repetitive.
Yeah.
I don't mind her coming back for another one, later on. It's just, let's have some variety.
Yeah.
And I just have to say, Maul was a beast in that gameplay.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
I think there was never any question, but I think everyone's just going to be wanting to play as Maul when it comes to picking your villains.
Yeah.
Unless Vader's an option, then...
I don't know, I think Maul's going to be a popular character, considering, the Star Wars cartoons that came out and stuff.
I think Maul was possibly, if not the second most, I'm pretty sure he was probably, the most played villain in the original Battlefront 2 game. So he'll probably be the most played villain in this new one, just because he's speed and agile and deadly.
Although, I will say something, I think one of the devs mentioned, I think it was one that, it was the devs that were talking during the gameplay, wasn't it? I think they mentioned, somebody from the development team was I wish Maul could deflect the blast, and that would be too OP if that was the case.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's a way you could do that, which would be, if that was an ability as like a stamina bar, and you could only do it for like so long, because a Jedi and Sith will only ever deflect for so long before they retreat anyway, because they can't keep up with it. So maybe if they could do something, if they wanted to do deflection, they would have to do something along those lines so it's not overpowered.
Well, to be honest with you, that depends on who they're fighting. I mean, there's been plenty of stuff where Jedi have like held their lightsabers against gunfire for like 10 minutes.
Well, you know what I mean.
No, actually, I was going to make a point on that. I'm pretty sure, in the original Battlefront 2, though, I remember, I'm pretty sure that was an ability that you had. You couldn't, like, consistently deflect shots, because then it would be overpowered. But it was a thing that you could occasionally do. Like, every so often, you sort of, like, it was an ability that you would charge, you would hit a button or something, and it would sort of deflect every so many shots. But you couldn't keep it up. It was just, like, sort of quick use, keep using kind of thing. You'd have to keep spamming in order to really keep sort of using it. So I don't see why they couldn't do it. You know, it could be that, like what you've just said, you know, have a little hotbar for it or something.
Yeah. I mean, hold on, they could bounce it out even better, because you know how Darth Maul's mainly an agility-based character in the series. What they could do is, in fact, with any of the Jedi or Sith-based characters that use a lightsaber, they could have that. And what happens if you do it too long? You'll get a debuff to your speed and your movement. Yeah. Right.
We best get speeding along through some of these other topics if we want to.
Yeah.
Get to mention them all. Do you want to jump into Shadow of War next, or have you got a different?
Sure. I mean, we've already mentioned the Scorpio, and I don't think we need to mention anything more apart from a passion.
I will say one thing, if we're going to quickly jump and hop on with the new Xbox console, actually. One thing I got to congratulate them about is the fact that they're doing backwards compatibility, right? Which is the one thing that they have PlayStation beat on. Well, not one thing, right? So don't start like filling the comments with hate and everything. It's, for me at least, the main thing that they've got PlayStation beat on. Because PlayStation will never do backwards compatibility. They're just not going to do it because it would cost them too much. And it's nice to see that a console is using it. And the fact that they also announced that the Xbox One is going to have original Xbox now included in their backwards compatibility. So, like, if you wanted to play, for example, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic on your brand new Xbox console, you could. You just have to make sure you got the disc for it. But I've got to congratulate them on that, because, like I said, I love PlayStation to just bloody do backwards compatibility. But they're not going to do it because they've got that stupid PlayStation Now app, which is basically their version of backwards compatibility, except you've got to pay for it. So,
I mean, it's not that much, and also you can, I believe you can rent games on using PlayStation Now, can't you?
No, because I don't think so, because every game on PlayStation Now is free. You just have to pay to have PlayStation Now.
No, I'm not talking about it's just for PlayStation Now. I think that some of the titles in PlayStation Now you can go and like rent for a week or something, or a day.
I don't know, but the main problem with it as well is that it's at either PlayStation's whim or the game developer's whim to just remove their games from PlayStation Now. Because I had one of my friends recently was trying to get him to play Assassin's Creed Rogue. Never played it before. And he went and checked. He was going to get the 7-day free trial just to sort of get it on his PS4.
Right.
And all the Assassin's Creed games had been taken off of PlayStation Now.
Right.
And yet, only a month back, they were all on.
Yeah. What happens is if your Now or your PS Plus subscription runs out, they'll basically hide them from you, and you'll not be able to play it. Obviously, you won't be able to play your downloaded version of that game. until you get PlayStation.
He didn't have the game downloaded. He went into PlayStation Now to check out what games they had available.
I'm saying the one he had downloaded, he wouldn't have been able to access, just like if you on.
He didn't have any downloaded.
Well, just like, it's a streaming service, right?
He never had PlayStation Now. He was going to get the 7-day free trial if the game was there.
Oh, right. Okay.
But it wasn't there because they'd actually taken it off of PlayStation Now.
Ah.
It's no longer on PlayStation Now at all.
I wonder why that is.
Which is the problem with it. Whereas if they just did bloody backwards compatibility, I know it means they wouldn't be making a ton of money off of it. But at least then you've pretty much got that guarantee. If I've got the game for it, I can play it. But my final comment, which is a bit of a critique of Xbox, is Microsoft have proven to me once again that they are bloody awful when it comes to naming their shit.
I don't see a real problem of calling it the Scorpio.
Except it's not called the Scorpio.
It's not?
It's called the Xbox One X.
Oh god. The Xbox. Wait, so XOX.
XBOX.
X. So now it's the Xbox box. No wait. It's the Xbox Ox.
What? No.
Hold on. I'm trying to visualize the acronym in my head. It's the XBX.
It would.
The XBX.
Xbox One X. Damn it.
XB1X.
Well, no, because they don't spell it with the number, they spell it with the O. Don't make me retract my statement, Chris, because it would actually make it kind of clever. Because the acronym would literally be Xbox.
It would be.
Xbox One X still sounds shit, right? It's still not a good name, but the acronym is very clever. I'll give them that.
I mean, if it's the case, then fair enough. We had good job, Xbox. Literally.
Yeah, you just stumped us. In the middle of our fucking podcast, you've just stumped us. We've come to the realization.
Oh, gee. Say Microsoft, hire us. We'll come up with your names for you. It'll be much better.
Or we'll just let you continue to pitch your names, tell you that all the names you come up with are shit, but say that there's a clever concept behind it. So run with it.
Yeah, but we could get paid to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hire us to just basically tell them to do what they're doing anyway.
Oh, that's going to make everything convoluted, isn't it? Because if it's called if the acronym comes out as Xbox, right? Aren't parents like going to be confused if they're looking like for an Xbox for like their kid or something and they go for an original Xbox?
No, because right now we're the only people on the planet other than Microsoft that have actually figured out that the Xbox One X spells out Xbox in acronym form. Everyone else is just purely calling it the Xbox One X, which at the time had me.
If they went with a Roman numeral for the one, we could call the X-Bix.
Well, yeah, but if that's then, do you want to go into the cookie market?
I mean, it could be a new form of gamer food. Just biscuit. I haven't seen anyone release gamer food with like biscuits or anything, or cookies for our intercontinental peoples. Don't confuse it with the X Twix. That's a totally different thing.
That's something else entirely.
Although it is a biscuit, so they could technically run with that.
But it has us wondering at the end of the day, what's that next thing gonna be? What's that next thing gonna be called? Are they just gonna call the next one the Xbox One Xbox, and then it'll be the Xbox One Xbox One?
Do you know? I think they should have just really simplified it and just called the X1, and then the next one could be the X2, X3, X4. Because the thing that makes it. The PlayStation's never going to go with just P1, because that sounds awful. Mm-hmm. But they've got an X in their name, so it sounds better. It rolls off the tongue.
You know what else is a cunt about the way they name that shit?
Mm-hmm.
If you try and search for like an original Xbox, like game type thing, just on the internet, whether it's being sold or whatever, it can be quite difficult to find. Because, like, if you want a PlayStation 1 game, you just type in PlayStation 1, right? But if you want an Xbox One, you're going to get the Xbox One, not the first Xbox.
Well, I mean, the original Xbox never went by Xbox One anyway.
It didn't, but if you just type in Xbox, then you're just going to get the latest Xbox stuff.
Well, you could say the same thing about PlayStation, though.
Well, yeah, exactly. If you just typed in PlayStation, you would just get PlayStation stuff. So that's why the naming doesn't work. Because you have something to categorize the PlayStation because it goes in numerical order.
Yeah.
Whereas Xbox is all over the place with their bloody numbers and naming system.
True.
So it makes it relatively difficult when it comes to searching for things.
Hold on.
Just because, like I said, if you search for Xbox One, then you get the new console stuff as opposed to the original console stuff. And you can't just search the actual console's name because then you'll just get general Xbox things. So, honestly, Microsoft, I don't care how good your acronyms are. Work on your naming system.
But just to quickly mention, wasn't the original PlayStation? I'll call it the original, just to differentiate. Just called PlayStation, not the PS1. It was called the PS1 by fans and stuff, and by PlayStation when they released the PlayStation 2.
I'm not sure because I always remember it being called the PSX.
No, that's a recent thing. It was originally it was called
it the PSX back in like 10, 15 years ago. I called it the Xbox X. So there's not reason.
Well, if it was the Xbox X, then it would be the Xbox.
Well, it wouldn't be the Xbox X because we're talking about PlayStation.
Yeah.
So PSX.
PSX. Yeah, but I always remember the console just being called the Sony PlayStation when it was released and out.
It's probably what they called it back when it was first released.
Yeah.
But there was no other PlayStation at the time.
True.
So whenever you're talking about PlayStation or Sony PlayStation, you knew straight away which one you were talking about.
Yeah.
Just like the same applies with the original Xbox back when that was the console that had just been released. But now, because of Microsoft not being able to name things in a order that makes sense.
Yeah, a coherent manner.
It makes it very difficult when it comes to finding stuff. I've had difficulties in the past with it.
Yeah.
Because just searching original Xbox doesn't always work for stuff that you're looking for. Because then it might think that you're looking for the original game that came out for a new console.
Right.
So it's just so much. Anyway, that's more time than we needed spent on that.
Indeed. That was just supposed to be a passing mention, everybody, but we just riffed on it. It's cool.
As we usually do.
Maybe we should mention something that we would actually just like spend a couple of minutes on.
Yeah, we can do. I'll quickly mention, just because I'll not talk about this for very long. I'll just brief mention. With Crackdown 3, loving the fact that Crackdown is making a return. I adore the second one. I would adore the first one, but I never got a chance to play the first one.
Right.
I only got the second one because I'd seen gameplay for the first one, and the gameplay I'd seen, every time you got into one of your vehicles, the vehicle would like transform into like a much bigger vehicle. So you'd get into this tiny little car, and you'd sit in it, and it would transform into this giant fucking monster truck. And I was like, whoa, I need to play this game. And the only one I could get was number 2, which unfortunately didn't do that. You could upgrade it, but it never did the transformy stuff. But basically, it's this really cool game where you're basically playing as like this super agent. And it's kind of, if you imagine, like a cross between Saints Row and Prototype, if you will. It's got that kind of sort of feel to it. Because it doesn't take itself too seriously. And this new one, first of all, the bloody trailer, you stick Terry Crews in anything and it's elevated another level. So well done there.
I think this is I mean, people can correct me if this is not the case, and if it's not the case, I would love it. This is the first game that Terry Crews that's advertised for, or been a part of the advertisement for.
You're probably going to get 50 comments all listing 70 different games.
If I do, fair enough. I will go and watch that. I love Terry Crews. He's amazing.
I couldn't give you any of them, but that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The thing that's interesting about this game, because I haven't actually seen a ton of gameplay that's showing off anything else.
Mm-hmm.
The most that they've shown is just really how processing heavy this game's going to be, because you can basically blow up and destroy every single building that exists in the city. Like, every structure that's in the city, you can take it down. And they're fully made buildings as well. They're not just, like, hollow on the inside. Some of them, like, they're fully decked out and everything. And you smash them, and it's not like a little crumble effect back like it with the Incredible Hulk game when you took down those buildings. It's like, they've done the proper, like, particles and physics and everything for each crack in each, like, piece of cement or brick that's in the building. But that's pretty much what they've showed off in, like, the 2 pieces of gameplay, which wasn't even shown at this E3. This is, like, from a year ago or something. So,
well, I mean,
but yeah,
there's another game that's done that before. I mean, it was on a smaller scale, but it was to a very similar effect. It was a Red Faction.
Right. I don't think I ever played that.
Well, essentially, it had very destructible... I think it was the third one I played. It had very destructible environments. Yeah. Incredibly destructible environments. You could literally go to a staircase and destroy the whole thing. And what makes it even better is you had a game mechanic where you could literally just repair the whole staircase again and just blow it up again if you wanted. And it had all the particle effects, and it had I think a lot, if not all, of the parts themselves were their own separate entities. Right. And this was all done back on like PlayStation 3 hardware kind of dealy. I mean, obviously, this game is on taking that to a bigger scale by the looks of it. But for the time, for the gaming at the time, that was pretty impressive, even if it wasn't a smaller scale.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think we'll have some brief few mentions in relative detail about pretty much the last 3, really. We'll have to skip a couple. But I know what you want to talk about, and we'll brief over the other 2 quite quick. Yeah. So...
Well, I know what I want to talk about.
Quick impressions of Mordor.
Of Mordor. It looks good. Yeah. It look visually, it's really nice. I never played the first Shadow of Mordor, but I always thought that the graphic fidelity was pretty decent. I liked that. I mean, I didn't know about some of the lore behind Lord of the Rings, and actually, it was Shadow of Mordor that introduced me to looking into Celebrimbor, who's the guy that created the fucking rings and stuff. That's really cool, and I never knew that before. Yeah. It might have actually been mentioned in the Lord of the Ring movies, but I don't think I ever paid attention to it.
Well, I have to say, coming from someone... I'm full of unpopular opinions today. Coming from someone that couldn't give a damn about Lord of the Rings. It's not a franchise that interests me.
But apart from The Hobbit...
I think the Hobbit movies are more enjoyable to watch. I don't think they're great films. I think the second one's pretty good. Yeah. I think they're enjoyable. Either way, at the same time though, someone that doesn't care whatsoever about Lord of the Rings, never been interested in it. I've tried to watch them before. I can't get into the films. I just don't enjoy them. Right. I fucking loved Shadow of Mordor. I thought it was a fantastic game. I was fully immersed into it, fully immersed into the world. I enjoyed every extent of it. And I think this game looks like it's... Obviously, it's a sequel game. It's up in the ante. Right. I think this Bruce Orc... If he's a character that shows up in everyone's game, similar to Ratbag in the first Shadow of Mordor, I think this Bruce guy's going to be a fan favourite.
Oh yeah.
For everyone. Because he's got a good personality.
I mean, even if you have taken over his mind, like, it's kind of like a labour forced love kind of dealy, but Yeah, I enjoy his character. He's very he brings a nonchalantness to what would be a very serious game.
Mm-hmm.
I like characters like that who give a break to the whole seriousness of what's going on in the game and what you're doing.
Sort of like the comic relief type character.
Yeah.
Except not being all slapstick or anything.
Yeah. He will still bite a person's head off, just not yours.
Yeah, but that would be awesome. I have to say that the one thing I can't quite get about Shadow of Mordor, or Shadow of War, and it's not about the game itself, it's actually about other games outside of it. The Nemesis system is a genius thing that they came up with in that game. I cannot understand why other games have not tried to implement something like that.
Technically, other games have. Technically. Not to the complexity to what the Shadows... I'm going to have to call it the Shadow of series, right? The Shadow of Mordor, the Shadow of War. But the Shadow of series has done a brilliant job on that. I think it helps with the setting being Lord of the Rings and the Tolkien universe that encompasses it. Because, like, for example, a lot of the kingdoms in Middle Earth are very interconnected, and they'll keep tabs on each other and stuff, and so will like the mentions of the orc tribes and whatnot. So that makes sense to me. Things like saying, like, I'm gonna have to say Skyrim, because that's another RPG I'm familiar with. Things like Skyrim, the closest to a Nemesis system. Well, actually, you do technically have a Nemesis system in Skyrim, because say you go with in one of the DLCs, you can either side with vampires or side with vampire hunters, and depending on which side you'll side with, you'll get the random run-in events where, like, a random character will play you. If you're with the vampires, the vampire hunters will randomly come and attack you or attack the castle. So technically there is a Nemesis system there. It's just not very detailed.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily see that as, like, the same thing, because that's more just a scripted style thing based off of the side that you've chosen. Whereas the stuff from the Mordor games or the Shadow of series, it's a lot more random and by chance, which that then makes me sort of congratulate them even more, just for the fact that it's possible that that you could have an orc that's literally tracked you across the entire map just to get his revenge on you. I thought that was quite impressive. But honestly, not to go off topic here, because not that we have really time for it, but it was like 2-3 years ago, 2 games came out with where basically the NPC or the AI was intelligent, it was smart, it thought for itself to a degree. You had Shadow of Mordor come out, and round about the same time you had Alien Isolation come out, where the alien thought for itself and could think for itself. So you had 2 games round about the same time with this super intelligent AI system. And honestly, especially with Shadow of Mordor, I was expecting so many games within the coming years to, like, copycat that whole Nemesis system and have, like, super smart AI, and I've not seen it anywhere. And it's nice because it means it gets to stay unique to the Shadow of series, but at the same time, it's quite surprising, since people are always looking for, like, better NPCs and better AI in their games. It's quite surprising that more games haven't implemented that type of system. It doesn't have to be set up the same way, but that type of system where, if you encounter someone you've encountered before in the past, they'll remember you and remember at least one action that you did. Anywho,
what's next?
We've got a few co-op games.
Oh yeah,
that were shown off. A few impressive co-op games. We'll start off with the one that we'll talk about the least, despite the fact it looked really good, which was A Way Out, the couch co-op prison escape.
Yeah.
Which, have to say, wasn't all that impressed with the trailer that they showed for that game, but the gameplay side of it had me very impressed. The fact that one person might be in a cutscene and the other person can still be playing the game. And for me, there's nothing better than finding out. When the start of the presentation, the guy came out, he was the same guy that narrates the video for the gameplay, and he was coming out and he was talking it up, and it's the same team that did, Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, which is quite an artsy, deep story game. But the guy comes out, he's like all smiling and chipper, and he's almost being quite cocky about how good this game is that he's about to show you. But then he acknowledges the fact that he's being cocky about it, and he starts like really getting passionate about it, and he says, I'm just being this cocky because this is how much I love this game that we've made. And so you see like the passion in his face for just how much he's really proud of the game that he's made. And then you see it and you saw that gameplay, and I thought, wow, this is something that I could play like multiple times with different people just to sort of see how it turns out. And it will be a fun thing because it'll probably be like a 3-hour story or something, is what I reckon.
Hello?
Oh,
you went absolutely silent and freaked me out, you fuck.
I was giving you a chance to chip in, Chris.
I'm sorry, I thought you were still going on your tirade of speech.
No, I don't always have to start off as constant speed and then slow down. Sometimes I like to go at a full-on speed and then just stop.
Well, that makes it more awkward for me. Oh, God. Right, yeah. It looks great. It looks fantastic. I like the visuals. I like them opening up to what seems to be what's the right word for it? Like a bazaar, right?
Yeah.
Like a markety kind of place filled with people. You can almost immediately tell that it's like I don't want to say post-apocalyptic, but I can't find a better word for it. Like humanity, it's kind of like the deal of the ancient times with the bazaars, but they had like the technology of like 1,000 years in the future from now kind of deal. If you get what I'm getting at.
Barely.
It's like the time period like of the bazaar would make you think like it's ancient. Well, I'll mention Egypt again. It's like ancient Egypt, but they've got like really advanced technology on the other hand.
Right.
I
mean, I didn't see that personally. I saw like a Texas-y kind of prison escape.
Hold on. I'm talking about a totally different fucking game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's kind of throwing us off. I know. Look, I'm sorry. Here's my apology for throwing you off with the instant stop. But when you started describing what you thought of this game, I was like, I have no idea where he's going with this.
Sorry, I was giving spoilers to another game that we'll be talking about. Well, thanks, Dan. Oh, good God. Well, yeah. So, A Way Out it looks great. It looks it looks great. Shawshank Redemption, eat your heart out. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, God. I'm not gonna recover from that, man.
No. Do you want to talk about this?
No. We'll stick with The Way Out because like I've got a couple of notes.
Right.
Right. Give me like the gist of what you just said again.
It's if I can remember anything I've just said after all that.
Just like a general overview of what you mentioned.
I'm loving the fact that it's emphasizing on couch co-op.
Yeah.
Because the guy actually said you'll get a better experience from the game if you play it on the same screen, on split screen, than you will if you played online with someone else. Yeah. Just the fact, how incorporated.
Just a emphasis on this. Does that mean if you're playing with somebody else, elsewhere, you're not going to get the split screen effect?
No, I don't think you will.
Oh, that's a shame. I don't see why they couldn't do that.
Yeah. I don't know that for a fact. Just the way he talked about it, right. It implied that he said split screen is the best way to play it. Unless he's
meaning like just because there's somebody else next to you.
Maybe I interpreted it differently. Mm-hmm. I just assumed since he said you'll get the best experience from it if you're playing on the same television screen. Mm-hmm. That would then imply that that's how you get the two. Because that would then make sense as to why you've got split screen. But I don't know. I haven't actually seen enough of it to actually answer that question.
Right. What else? Yeah, it's very cinematic, mm-hmm. which a lot of games don't really pull off very well. Because like you'll always get like Assassin's Creed. I'm going back to Assassin's Creed a lot. Assassin's Creed, where you have this brilliant cinematic, mm-hmm. and then you're just a camera hovering behind your character for the rest of the game daily. But the fact that there's different camera angles, it's I don't really know if I can say that changing camera angles on the fly is a thing. Mm-hmm. Because it didn't look that way during the gameplay. Mm-hmm. It looked like at least for in the prison there's like set camera angles and stuff for like when you're like going down a walkway and then like down some stairs kind of dealy. But yeah, I like that you can go and move around as your friend, and I think there's going to be a lot of trolling.
Oh, definitely.
Somehow people are going to make it funny, like trying to beat up like an NPC that's talking to you in a cutscene.
Well, like, you know, during the first cutscene, the sort of show where you're sort of stood at the railings and the other guy's basically butt naked, mm-hmm. holding his prison uniform in front of him. Yeah. I imagine there'll be plenty of people that have the other guy jump over the rails, sneak up behind wherever the camera would be for the cutscene, and just keep like crouching up and down, a bit behind them.
The game is 18 rated now. No, in fact, it's only for adults. Give us your ID.
I'd try and figure out exactly where the camera actually was during the cutscene so that I could just have my dude like literally just staring into the camera the entire time.
Just keep walking in front of all the NPCs, just your face is on their screen. You're not playing the game, you're playing me.
I am the game.
Do you want to play? Anything else? Shawshank Redemption, eat your heart out, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be as like the goody buddy movie that Shawshank Redemption turned out to be. I think the two characters are basically, unless you're escaping separately, I think there's an option to mm-hmm. co-op until like a point, or escape and go your own way while your friend can just watch what you're up to, kind of thing. I don't think from the looks of it, the characters don't even really have much of a repertoire between them.
Yeah.
There's literally one point where there's a cinematic view of one of the characters jumping over a ravine and the other characters trying to catch them, whether that's for just their own benefit and like...
Well, I think it's going to be more of the case where, you know, obviously they don't know each other at the beginning of the game. They've just got something that aligns the two of them up. Mm-hmm. And then they work together to break out, but through probably all the trials that they then go through, mm-hmm. they'll end up bonding and becoming friends with one another. I'm actually assuming that's probably how it's going to work out, just considering some of the other scenes, because you see the teamwork that they sort of go through. So it makes sense in that kind of story, and considering the team that's working on the game, that it would have that kind of deep sort of emotional story kind of thing going on, because it's got stuff like, from the trailer you see, it's got stuff like set outside of the prison, like where one of them's in hospital. I assume it's his wife or something, so he's had a kid or whatever. So there's more than just the prison break side to it, so it's probably going to get a lot deeper than what they've showed off.
Well, I hope it doesn't turn into like a buddy thing, in all honesty, because to me that seems like the easiest route to do with the story. Just they eventually become friends and everything's happy. I think it would be much better if it's the deal where it's not the case where it's I hate you now, I like you later. I hope it's the case where I don't like you, but I need you to do X, Y, and Z.
I think purely because of, once again, the team that's making it, just considering the game's amazing prior, I think there will be a situation where the two actually are bonding with each other, purely because of their escape that they're going on and whatever story is about to entail. Whether or not they're friends at the end of it, I don't know. I'm not expecting that final cutscene to be a scene of them in a bar together having a pint. They're probably, I imagine they probably finished the game being acquaintances with one another, and they probably go their separate ways, and, you know, that being the real world and such, never saw each other again. That's probably how it would end up working out, but I don't know. I haven't played the game, but we can speculate.
Indeed, that's all we can do.
Well, but speaking of A Way Out, do you want to talk about your version of A Way Out?
Yeah. I'm never going to live that down from now on, am I? No. Right. The game I was talking about when I went off on my wee bit of a tirade, when you just stopped talking, just out of the blue, don't do that to me, is a game called Anthem. It seems to be a co-op based, I don't want to say multiplayer, because there's nothing to really suggest it's like an MMO of any sort. I'm assuming it's just like a jump in, jump out co-op kind of game. But yeah, the start of the game showed. I'm saying a lot.
Me too.
The start of the game showed you in a bazaar. You're in a first-person perspective. It's a first-person perspective game when you're outside. What you have later. Well, what was shown later on in the gameplay trailer is an exosuit. So you're in the first person beforehand. You are in. It shows you in a bazaar, kind of like what I said before. It looks like the bazaar belongs in ancient Egypt or an Arabian desert city, and then you see in the distance a rather large mechanical thing. I don't know if it's a mechanical creature, like what was that game that recently came out where you're like a huntress? And
I was trying to remember the name of it this morning.
Coming around.
The comments will be filling up about this. I was about to see the completely wrong game there. Something or other.
Something or other. That's it. That's the exact game. Well, that creature at least gives me the vibes of that game, or machine, whatever. Can you? At what point do you call a machine a creature and a creature a machine?
Yeah, in something or other, they tend to call them that.
Yeah. So yeah, eventually you meet up with a friend. While we were watching that, did the person the guy was playing with lean against his exosuit, or was that an NPC?
The one that talks to us at the beginning, I think See, because originally I thought he was the one that got in the exosuit.
Yeah.
The big clunky one. But when I think about it, I don't think it was. It was probably just another player.
Well, either way.
Sorry, the one you talked to was probably an NPC. And it was probably a separate character.
Oh, I'm talking about afterwards. The other player in the big suit. For some reason, I'm remembering that her character, whomever she was playing, leaned against his exosuit.
I don't remember that.
It must just be my what I would like in the game. But yeah, you have an exosuit. It's pretty much turns you into an Iron Man. Pretty much Iron Man.
Or Power Ranger.
Or Power Ranger, or even Gundam for that matter. Brilliant series. Love that series. It's excellent mechs, even though they're fucking huge and wouldn't actually really work in real life. But it's a nice visual. The flighting, you can fly. You can fly for a beginning. You can also fly underwater. Brilliant, all brilliant. Loving it so far. The flight is extremely smooth. It reminds me of, I don't suppose you played Just Cause 3.
Nope.
But
I know the game. I know the game you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, the flying reminds me of the gliding from the. I think it's called Elytra. I think that's what the webbing, the thing that you have under your arms that connect to your legs. I think they're called Elytra, but I'm probably wrong in that fact. I'm sure people will understand what I'm talking about regardless. No, wait, hold on. It's a glide suit, I believe. Yeah, the flying reminds me a lot of that, apart from the fact that you can ascend and descend, not just slowly descend. What else is there? The exploration looks immense. The map looks huge. My God, the map looks huge. I hope it's not the case where the map is like sectioned off and there's a period like in what's a good example? I think it's the Division. No, that's probably wrong, because I couldn't say that with any certainty because I haven't actually played the Division or watched much of it. Regardless, I hope it's not maps in separate entities and then you go like to a certain part of the map and you go to wherever that sends you. I hope that's not the case. I hope it's literally open world. It seems that way, but the way they faded out into black and then the way elsewhere,
it seems like it would be that way, because I think the developer said, it's basically you play with your friends, you get to explore this vast open world. Right. So I assume it's got to be a lot bigger, because there's that risk where it could look really big and it could actually be quite linear, because it's quite it's almost cavern-y, like almost as if you're going through a tunnel with the section that we see in the footage. So there's a risk that it could actually be like that, but just by the way he describes it, I think that was just that section that looks kind of enclosed. And it's probably actually quite giant. Yeah.
As well as the immense exploration, apparently, there's randomly scripted events, which I believe actually happens in the trailer, or that particular one was just part of a mission. What else is there? There are loot drops, which makes this game an RPG, technically. I mean, it's already an RPG, because you can actually customize your, I was going to say mech suits there, but your exoskeletons? I have it somewhere here.
I think they do just call them mech suits.
Mech suits, right. So you can customize your mech suits. You can make them huge or rather small from how they've been describing, and how the other player you're playing, the gameplay trailer was showing, was in like a pretty bulky mech suit, whereas the guy behind the controller was in a relatively slim suit in comparison.
I think I don't necessarily know. Once again, I could be wrong. Sometimes I am, but I think that's not like size difference purely because of customization. I think it's like I don't remember if he said how many he said. I think he might have said 4. I think he said there's something along the lines of 4 different types of mech suits in the game.
Right.
And then obviously each of them are all customizable at the same time, so you can add stuff and take stuff away and like change it to your preference. But like, you know, you've got a clunky one, you've got the all-encompassing one, so on and so forth.
Right. Loot drops. Let's see. I think they said that the weather's dynamic, didn't they?
I think they might have done, yeah.
Yeah. All in all, looks great. Looks fun. Would love to play now, but I can't.
I have to say, I think the graphics for that game, the game looks beautiful. It looks absolutely stunning.
Oh.
My only concern is, so did Mass Effect Andromeda when they first showed that off at E3. And we saw how that turned out. That being said...
I mean, Mass Effect Andromeda has gotten a lot of shit for them. I think mainly about face animations, right?
Yeah, but they always do this, which is the thing, but they seriously downgrade the graphics not long before they release them on the console.
Oh,
so they show them off
consoles.
being like
on PC.
Even on PC.
The
PC one's good. The PC one's great, right? Obviously better than the consoles. The thing that they show off at E3 though is still better.
I will say this though, you can enable the E3 options on Watch Dogs.
On Watch
So
Dogs.
there is a way to get that graphic fidelity still.
Which is made by a completely different company. So, but on another note, I don't know if this is true. Someone had told me that they'd actually fired the team that made Mass Effect Andromeda, but I don't know if that's true because I've not heard that anywhere else other than from one person. But the team that's working on this, I read it somewhere, so I couldn't give you it in detail. But I read that the team that's working on Anthem is the core BioWare team who've made all the best games from BioWare. So all the smash success hits and deadly focused on story and
so not Dragon Age 2.
So 100% not Dragon Age 2. More likely the team behind Dragon Age 1, to be honest.
Yeah. And Inquisition, which wasn't too bad.
It wasn't as good as number 1. It wasn't. It was miles better than number 2. But number 1's still the best.
True.
I do not believe for a second, by the way, that jumping in and out of someone's game will be as smooth as they showed it in that footage. It'll probably be wait 1 second, it'll take about 10 minutes. I'll be there in a bit. Just crack on without us for now.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I should just get such and such to join the game. Another second later, boom, that person's joined the game. Right.
I mean, I think if we end up playing the game together, we'll have to make a rule where it's one of us is if one of us needs to go back to the home base, that's fine, but one of us has to stay in in the area for the next mission, so that we don't get the awkward you're here now. It always has to be a epic entrance.
Yeah. And seriously, what's with game demos doing this? They did it. It was last year or the year before. It was for this strategic shooter game. I can't remember which company was making it, which developer was making it. But these game demos that are coming out where it's the voices you're hearing are players' voices. Meant to be the people playing the game. But it's scripted to such an extent that it sounds like it's the in-game characters talking, which makes it super jarring because then they say stuff like, I looted this on the weekend.
See, there's an easy way to have it so that... Hold on. There's an easy way to make sure that the players who are playing don't say the wrong thing. What you do is you hire voice actors and say, you can say whatever you want about the game that you're playing now. Make sure that they don't know anything else, just have it been a first time experience for them. Tell them things that they cannot say, swearing, for example, if they don't want swearing to be in it, or or like don't or like being too serious, or like don't get like overly excited that you laugh your head off and cut everyone else out. You do that, I would have a better experience with those types of trailers then.
See, I don't even know that you do that, right? Because if you do it like a first-time experience thing, then it's going to be very clunky because they're not going to know what the game is. They're not going to understand what the hell it is they're doing. So, why instead don't you just have it, instead of trying to make it super scripted gaming talk, which no one sounds like when they're playing a game in co-op, why don't you just have legit, actual, whether it's gamers or whatever, actually just talking about the game as if they would when they're playing it, so not talking about personal life or any of that kind of stuff. But if they end up saying something, not that they would know enough about the game to be able to say anything spoiler-wise, but if they end up saying something that you don't want them to say, you can chop it out. Yeah. You can chop that bit of audio out because you've still got the game's audio, so it's not going to be jarring. It's not like it's going to suddenly turn silent. Yeah. So I think I don't want it to become a trend where every E3 there's like a game or two which has this super scripted, like in gamer talk, where I've got to spend like several views of the video figuring out whether or not it's the characters saying this stuff or it's the players saying this stuff.
I mean, it would be weird if it was like, say for example, it wasn't player talk and these actually were like, this was like NPC kind of dialogue. Because like for some reason, like XP would then be like an inside joke for us like experienced gamers and stuff. And it'd be like it'd be like an Easter egg for like gamer jargon, and it would feel out of place to me if that was the case.
See, I don't know. Part of it is like, if that was, which obviously we know it's not, but in the situation where it was actually the characters talking, as opposed to it being player talk, and if that had been the situation, then I actually think it would be pretty well done, in a sense of it's quite dynamic in terms of this conversation that they're having throughout this entire thing. Yeah. You know, the fact that you look left, decide maybe not to go that way, and then say something about it. It's like, wow, this is some smart like system you've got going on to figure out what to get each character to say based off of the situation they're in. Yeah. So I think it would work if it was the actual in-game characters saying all this stuff. It's just the fact that it's meant to be players saying all that stuff makes it sound... It comes across very weird.
Oh, there's another thing to complain about. The voice acting. Oh, wow, we're playing the game. Woohoo. Is it me, or did they edit the sound of their voice to make it sound like it's coming through like an intercom?
That didn't help it either, because it made it sound like the voice was coming from inside the mech suit. Yeah. Which is why you would assume it was the characters talking.
I mean, I wouldn't actually mind that if it was the case in game. I mean, it doesn't sound great, in all honesty. I would prefer like just having my mic sound and, you know, just editing it myself. But I would, if it's a case where the walkie-talkie intercom, I'm sure there's a better way to put it, but the intercom speech, the intercom effect was on you as well as everybody else. I think that's a nice touch, but they need to make it sound better.
It could be a thing where it's just an effect that's added onto the game chat. Yeah. They probably just did it, in all fairness, just to emphasize the fact that the game is really heavy about these mech suits.
Oh yeah.
That's probably the whole reason they stuck the effect on the voices to begin with.
What's your bets that they want to create? They actually wanted to create an Iron Man game, but Marvel said no.
No, I don't think so. If it had been a single player game, I might have said you've got it, maybe. Yeah. But I think because it's a co-op game, I'm not so sure on that. For me, honestly, this game, if it's assuming it's everything they promise it to be, this game could end up being closer to the game that I was hoping Destiny would end up being.
Yeah, I think if this game really pulls it off, it's going to be Destiny and Warframe hands down.
Yeah.
Maybe not if they don't have any like space travel at all and you're just confined to this one planet. Destiny and Warframe kind of, well, especially Warframe has them both beat in that case.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a case where you can actually go like maybe to the moon or like the nearby planetary system or something, that would be another thing to add on to this game.
Maybe. Either way, in BioWare we trust.
Aye.
Anyway, folks, that's pretty much all we've got time for this episode of the show. Sorry if this episode in particular has been a little clunkier than your regular scheduled programming would expect. But this is episode 1, and with every episode that we continue to do, the show will improve in both quality and sustainability and fluidity and all the words that end in E.
Quantity.
And so on and so forth, etc., E. Actually, yeah, add that one on as well, Chris. Do that. So if you could, guys, do a massive favour, right? If you enjoyed even the slightest bit, like, even if it was those 30 seconds in this episode that entertained you, do a favour, hit the like and subscribe, right? Because we don't have a set date yet for exactly when the podcasts are going to get uploaded. We're thinking fortnightly, but as we can't give you a date right now, if you hit that subscribe button, you'll get updated as to when the next episode is out and uploaded.
If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike. If you hate us or you love us, leave a comment.
And share it nonetheless.
Yeah, that too.
Just click all the buttons.
Every button.
Every button.
Not twice, just once.
Just twice. Go down the list of every comment as well. There's like and dislike things. Click every button.
Show the people who watched us how much you love or hate them. Alright.
Righto, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the All Directions podcast. We will see you all next time.
Bye.